tell you, it turns out some bugs are harder to squash than others. This was working earlier, but for whatever reason, when I went and looked on here to see if I was live, now it's playing. See, lots of things can conspire to frustrate whatever it is I'm trying to do. Weird. Anyway, thanks to the people who have stuck around. A lot of people might have seen me over here yesterday. And you know what? This whole ordeal with bugs and the software not working, it actually wasn't a bug, it was a feature, but that's a separate conversation. It's a good analogy for what I want to talk about today. Squashing persistent lawfare pests. And of course, I'm speaking figuratively. No one is going to be actually squashed. That would involve violence. I'm speaking rhetorically. I'm using analogies. Obviously, George's mentally ill, wife-swapping, hog-copulating, paperclip Nazi brother is not an insect. Not really. I mean, I suppose he's a human, as hard as that is to imagine. But he is a persistent pest, kind of like the bug with this software that seems to be finally worked out. I spent a lot of time this morning and this afternoon sorting out how this new feature works. I don't know why they added that. Sometimes software companies do that. An update, you know, that adds no capability or whatever, but makes it not work anymore. That's what was happening. They've changed the functionality of it significantly. Makes it way more complicated to program a stream. There were a couple of troll accounts that were like, live streaming is easy, turn off all that other stuff. It's like, look, live streaming sitting in your apartment is easy. Walking around New York City with all of the radio interference and all of the problems, and going out to multiple platforms. Of course, you know, people can watch on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. People can watch on x.com by following at JG_CSTT. Let's see if we're live over there. Oh, that'll make me sad if we aren't. Looks like it might be. See, I don't know, that's not working right either. Yes, it is, but the face doesn't say that I'm live. Normally there's a little red circle around my face and it says live. It's not doing that. So see, that's a whole different platform that's having a bug. It's a confluence of bugs. And I think that can basically be expected. So obviously when somebody endeavors to really mess with you, they know there's a certain amount of complication inherent in life. Numerous random events that conspire to complicate things. And by the way, being in court is already complicated. So I wanted to do this live stream for a number of reasons. Obviously, I'm not going to take the advice of unknown troll accounts that say, oh, turn off all that other stuff. This is a mature system that's developed over years. It's resilient to radio interference, dropouts in the mobile data network, all kinds of different stuff like that. When a major component of the software changes and throws me a curveball, I don't want to just turn off everything and go back to the easiest possible way to do it. By the way, that would just be sitting in the apartment pre-recording videos and then uploading them as premieres or something super easy like that. That would be giving up. And it's a good analogy for what's going on with this lawfare that I've been subjected to for the past 8 years. See, we can see there is that homeless woman who's become a staple up here at the post office. The reason I came out yesterday was I wanted to talk to everybody about the latest bit of nonsense from George's paperclip Nazi brother. And I call him that, it's a nickname, you know? Obviously, he wasn't even alive in the 1940s and 50s, so he couldn't be an Operation Paperclip Nazi, but there's a lot of information in the public domain that causes me to believe that George and his brother might be descendant from an Operation Paperclip Nazi, or maybe Operation Overcast. I don't know. I'm speaking in a kind of a generalization. Again, it's a rhetorical, this is my opinion based on looking at public domain evidence. And by the way, a lot of this stuff is still classified, so we don't know. And, by saying, oh, well, the public history is that this guy is an Army veteran and a hero and all that. I mean, the point is they've been given false identities. I don't even think the Army probably tells people about this. Hey, have you guys ever heard about, in the Army or the National Guard, something called Operation Paperclip? Do they ever tell you about that?
I don't know anything about
So you don't know anything about it, right? It's exactly what I'm talking about, and that's what I would expect. It's just not something that is spoken about. So as Hawkins would say, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So it's something that we would need to look very deeply into to figure out. And the whole reason why I'm even talking about this, people see. I just spoke to those two gentlemen who are tasked with protecting this public space here, the Moynihan Train Hall. Those are military guys, I presume National Guard, New York National Guard, invited here by Kathy Hochul. We could get into the legality and the constitutionality of having the Army in public civilian spaces, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the fact that this is a public space, and that what I'm doing here is just documenting the evolution of New York City from, essentially like around the time of the pandemic. I mean, isn't that when I started doing these walks around? I think. Actually, no, the very first iteration of this technology was with Dr. Corsi. I actually started testing it with Quinn Michaels. There was a lot more equipment then. This is another reason why I really don't appreciate input from anonymous accounts that are like, turn that stuff off, do this, do that. First of all, I recognize that to be a troll account. And second of all, those people have no idea what I'm doing, how it works, what the evolution of this system has been. But it used to be like all kinds of different. It's a beautiful day in New York City. It used to be all kinds of different equipment strapped around my neck and everything like that. Now, how do we get back up to where I was yesterday? Because there's another bug that I want to test out. You remember I walked by some stupid private security guard that George's mentally ill, hog-copulating, wife-swapping, paperclip Nazi brother. He thinks he's an Amtrak guy or something like that. He's trying to utilize the Amtrak Act. I didn't even know that existed. There's a law or a statute or something like that called the Amtrak Act, which, Amtrak is sort of like a pseudo-government thing. And, we can look at this. This is where our tax dollars have gone in New York City, create this Moynihan train station. There's a commercial aspect to it. There's an infrastructure aspect to it, the trains and all that. But we have a right to observe this, to document this. And just like the New York Times sells you a subscription to their newspaper, now I think that guy might be wearing the same logo. Maybe it's just Moynihan Train Hall Security. Even if it is, these guys don't have the authority to tell me that you're not allowed to record in here. It's a public space. So George's brother is now on a tear. How you doing? George's brother is now on a tear where he has sent a FOIA request to Amtrak. Apparently there is a provision within the Amtrak Act where you can FOIA various aspects of what's going on in Amtrak. For instance, it might be interesting to people just to know that so many of these retail spaces in this ultra premium new thing are vacant. That is a matter of public interest in New York City because it speaks to the ineffective nature of Mayor Eric Adams. The commercial climate in New York City right now is so bad that these premium retail spaces can't even be rented. This is one of the most commercially active, or it was, one of the most commercially active cities in the world, and all of this being vacant is a valid matter of public interest. Now, it's also interesting that we didn't lose signal over there today. Why? I don't understand why it cut out the other day. Lots of things happen that I can't necessarily speak to or understand. So even just walking around New York City, testing out, what's going on with the mobile data network, that's something I'm allowed to do. So George's brother is a maniac who people are like, oh, stop talking about George's brother. It's got nothing to do with George or his brother specifically as individuals. It's got to do with the fact that why have these two fucking lunatics been all over me for 8 years? Why is that? And what's of particular interest is around April or May, George's brother, he sort of went, not dark, but he went dormant, kind of. Asked me if I'd be interested in a settlement in the lawsuit. I don't know what he was after with that. I don't think that was a serious ask. Never got to any kind of settlement negotiation. It caused me to believe that whoever was paying him or motivating him to do what he was doing had decided that maybe there wasn't a need to do that anymore, or maybe there wasn't resources to do it anymore. Again, I can't explain why. Just like I don't know why the other day the video cut out when I walked past that clown who told me not to record in there. That just looked like a guy who got a security guard job and felt like he could tell people what to do without any knowledge of the law or what's going on. But what's interesting to observe is how activated George's brother has become. Now, to recount for people the recent developments in the Lawfare campaign against me, in May, people saw I was in Florida. And you could observe that because I made a video with former NYPD officer Sal Greco in Fort Lauderdale. Maybe that was May 2nd or something like that. I've said this many times. You can tell by looking at me, I'm not the youngest guy in the world. My parents are getting old and they sometimes require attention. They have medical things and whatnot going on, and I went to visit them and care for them, and certainly the persistent, obsessive Nazi nut jobs who stalk and harass me all over the place, watch every single thing I do like maniacs. They say, oh, Jason's in Florida. They know that's where my parents live. And so a plan appears to have been hatched. See, Nina Jankoitz, disgusting, evil psychopath, in my opinion, she had, about 2 years ago, engaged in what I believe were lies. You know, she says she's the she was the director of the Disinformation Governance Board. I observe that she engages in disseminating disinformation. Let's go this way. False information. And I think she did that in the court. She went and created a petition to get a restraining order. Threat. But I never threatened her, and she admitted that in a transcript that she's now upset that I've published. People can read that transcript on any of the subscriber platforms, and she's upset that I tell you that you can read it. He's offered it as a perk to his paying subscribers. It's not a perk. It's a matter of public interest, just like things that get published in the New York Times. The New York Times is not a charity. They're not giving away the New York Times. You have to pay if you want to read it online. You have to pay if you want to buy the newspaper and read it. And in there is news, information, matters of public interest, just like this transcript that proves, as far as I can tell, that Nina Jankoitz is a liar and a scumbag who, in my opinion, should be in jail, like George's brother. Anyway, if people go on to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or x.com and follow me at JG_CSTT, you can read this transcript where she admits that she didn't think I was actually going to hurt her. She never felt threatened. She just said that to be able to get a restraining order and to criminalize the act of even mentioning her name. If I had said, as I understood it, if I had spoken about her, what does that mean? I thought I would have to mention her name. It didn't say if you even remotely insinuate anything that could be construed as being about her, you violated this, although that is the way they're interpreting it now. I believe that's unconstitutional. I think the thing was written without sufficient particularity in order for it to be enforceable, because it required a lot of really vague interpretation to be able to understand what they were talking about. It just wasn't specific enough. I thought they meant you can't say her name. Didn't realize that anything that anybody at all could construe as being directly related to her would satisfy that about, because it was insufficiently specific. I believe that's why I took great efforts to not mention her name. And you see, Ivan Raiklin mentioned her name because it was clear that he was trying to violate it. So anyway, that was a restraining order that was placed on me for 2 years, and I told people, oh, there's someone I'm not allowed to talk about. They think that violates it. Just saying there's someone who's in Congress today that I'm not allowed to talk about, they now say violated it. Doesn't that seem excessively broad to you? Doesn't that seem unconstitutionally broad? That I can't even, if anyone could guess, if someone could read my mind or know me well enough and know the details of what an evil bitch Nina Jankoitz is, if they could figure out that that's what I was talking about, even without me speaking specifically about her, that still violated it according to them. So I tried to get an appeal going, but it's complicated, and I'm not an attorney. People should remember that. Nothing I ever say is legal advice. And nobody should take legal advice from me. Nobody should do anything based on what I say. Definitely don't contact anybody that I talk about. Don't threaten anybody ever. Just don't break the law. And so the point is, I tried to get an appeal, and I did it wrong, I guess, because they told me you got to wait 90 days. You send the notice of appeal to the circuit court, and then they transmit it to the appellate court, and they said you got to wait 90 days before you can enter this appellate brief. And I'm supposed to be notified by the appeals court. I'm much more on top of it now. I think part of the problem was, I believe, again, I'm not a lawyer, this could still be wrong, but I believe you need to have an appellate bond. I read the statutes much more carefully and reviewed this much more carefully because they didn't want it to get screwed up this time. And you have to have this $500 appellate bond. So I had to go get a cashier's check and send it to the court. And so this is what I mean when I say counter-lawfare. It costs a lot of money. And she hates it that I said that. She's saying something I said in a podcast about making it more expensive for people to engage in lawfare. Nina's stupid beached whale of a lawyer, Veronica Holmes, it's my opinion that she looks like a beached whale. She's a fat woman. That might offend her, but don't eat so damn much. Lay off the booze. Go walk on a treadmill or something. This is my opinion. I'm allowed to share my opinions. Oh yeah, this thing. I should go up in that. They have the nets. Anyway, they're saying, oh, Jason is saying he's going to make lawfare more expensive for people. He's trying to make money from this. Well, they're the ones who reinvigorated the thing. After my appeal failed in 2023, I was like, what? This is outrageous. I don't want to have this restraining order. And I looked into it a bit. There was something I could have done. I could have filed a precept, a precipe, whatever it's called, to reopen the case and to modify and dissolve it. This is a weird foot right here. People see that? Did it switch around? Uh-oh. We've got a problem. Hang on, hold the phone. Okay, meanwhile, what we'll do is we'll take a look at this video that people saw the other day. This is interesting.
A little cop just came over and said, if they want to fight, let them fight. If they do not, high stop it.
What is
They didn't
going
leave
on?
though, they're still there. What happened?
I know why don't trust you. Don't let this.
Hey, wait. We always seem to have Joel Matola around whenever this kind of stupid crap is going on. Why is he always here? This wouldn't be a staged... You making hand signals or you praying to Jesus, Mary, and Joseph there? What are you doing? So is this a staged incident? Sergeant Mottola, you always seem to be here at all of these staged incidents. It's weird. Where's Victor Parrott? Does he work for you? Who? What? Who? Only the stupidest. New York's stupidest. That's what you gotta do. That fucking guy. They're always around, staging some kind of bullshit. This is what kept me out of the Moynihan train hall yesterday. So you can't access the train station right now? Is that the idea? What is going on? People might have seen that video yesterday. Here's the foot. I was able to restore the camera. Again, I don't know, that's a bug, but I've figured out over time how to overcome that bug. I don't just say, oh no, it's not working, do away with this whole system. By the way, we're gonna test the failover system here going all the way out by the water here. That was a weird incident yesterday, the cops, and people remembered that I saw that girl, I don't know her name. That girl, here, let's see if we can find her on, I have her on Twitter. How do we do this here? No, get out of there. See, I believe it was her. I thought I saw her in a meeting with Eric Adams, this girl that I ran into on the street there yesterday. And I asked her, was that you? Here, let's look at that video. Hey, how you doing? Do you work for Joel Mottola?
No.
What were you doing in that meeting with Eric Adams and Orrin Levi? What was going on with that?
What?
Remember you were in that meeting with Orrin Levi and Eric Adams?
I was not there. I was not there.
You were not there?
I didn't go.
You didn't go?
I didn't go.
She says that was Josephine. I don't think that's correct. That was not Josephine. That was somebody else. It doesn't seem to want me to add this other source, so we won't mess with that. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't Josephine. People can go on to X and evaluate that. I posted it. Oh, now it says I'm live on X. Interesting. But there's a photograph of someone who looks a lot like her with Orrin Levi and what's that guy who's the head of Black Lives Matter? I forget his name. They're in there meeting with Eric Adams, and you know, my allegation is that Orrin Levi and his brother are part of this, I don't know, some kind of civilian unit that agitates all kinds of trouble at fake protests like that. And then I walked away from her, but by the way, she was wearing an NYPD boxing shirt. I don't know if people noticed that. NYPD boxing shirt. Here, share screen. Oh, that's the problem. See if that works. She was wearing this NYPD boxing shirt, which had the royal blue colors on it, and I've noticed that that seems to be this NYPD color of the day. Let's see if we can look at this. It doesn't, no. Screen, camera, no. Not showing up. It's funny when it wants to cooperate and when it doesn't. Right now it doesn't. But people can go onto X and have a look at that. I'm not saying it was definitely her. I could be wrong. Looks a hell of a lot like her. She's wearing an NYPD boxing shirt with the royal blue color of the day on it, which I allege people at those fake protests wear, so that all of those dozens of cops there will know, hey, these are our people. We're trying to arrest people like Jason. Ronan Levi and Orrin Levi, they're going to try to start fights with Jason and then arrest Jason, and we'll get something in the New York Post about how Jason is agitating or whatever. But, you know, that creates all this Israel versus Palestine, BLM, whatever it is that is the flavor of the day that the cops want to... I don't know. I can't say why they're doing it. I'm just saying, how do I know all these people's names? Why are they... Joel Mottola is always there when this is happening. I'm sure if we hung out long enough, we would have seen crackhead Barney over there. Now, what are these barges doing out here? Do we have any barge experts? It's a large barge. There's 3. Are they constructing something? I don't know what that is. It's a sunny, beautiful day. That's the other reason why I wanted to come out, you know. I wanted to get a handle on what was causing this weird problem on the live streams. I mean, I've been doing them for so many years. For it to suddenly fail, I don't know, you know, somebody who programs this software decided they have a better idea for how it should work. Doesn't add any capability, but it makes the whole thing crash. Now look at that, we have people, there's jet skis out there. Can we see that? I think that's filthy water to be jet skiing in. That? I think that's filthy water to be jet skiing in. It's one thing to run a barge. Pretty quiet over here, right? Normally there are helicopters operating. There's a helicopter pad right over here. Maybe right over there. Yeah, so anyway, back to Nina. She brings about this, you know, she reopens the thing in May while I'm in Florida looking after my parents. And they didn't tell me about it, you know. It's not like they emailed me and said, you know, Mr. Goodman, in consideration of you doing X, Y, and Z, we're reopening this thing and we want you to know there's going to be a hearing on May 30th. They didn't do that. They tried to have an uncontested hearing, and I found out about it. And eventually, I won't go into all the details, but I was able to make it to a hearing and understand the process sufficiently that I was able to outsmart her. See, I allege she was engaging in lawfare by doing this, because to me, legitimate legal action is you're doing something I want you to stop, and here are my legal options for compelling you to stop. We can avoid all this problem if you'll just agree to stop, and here's what's going to happen next. That's sort of straight dealing in my book, you know, and this speaks to what Adam Sharp and the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences did, what Nina is